Hi friends, I'm finally back. I'm sorry it's been a while since I've been on here to make a lengthy video. I've been busy and life is good, and I've been out painting a lot, and my show, I guess I haven't talked to you since my show opened, probably. I've had 8 sales so far. I'm really thrilled with that. And it's supposed to be up through this week, but we may leave it a little longer. He doesn't have anything coming in directly, and so why not, right? So I was walking last night and took a photo. It wasn't sunny, but I liked the view, just looking across an open field. I'll show you. I thought this would be a good lesson in values. Kind of nice, huh? I cropped it to that. But you can see the distant tree line is darker. But we want it to recede, so I have to think about that. And I like the color of the field. So kind of a simple scene, but again, I think it's a good lesson in values. So that's what we're doing. All right, we're going to start out and sketch it on, and we're going to probably put some values in too before we start. So what I'm doing is I'm holding my brush out to the photo and seeing where the tree line hits and making a mark. Looks approximately there. I didn't want to divide it in half, so I did think about that. I cropped it so I wasn't, wasn't doing that. Something to think about. All right. And I don't want anything to go directly off the corner, so we want to keep this above the corner. And the other one looks about there. It's approximately that. And then there's a row of grassy stuff above it. One's about that high. So again, I'm going to be trying to get my values right. So that that's the top of the tree line, that's the bottom. And it doesn't run, which is nice. It runs kind of up and down. And it's smaller on this side than this side, so it must kind of, it actually kind of does something like that. All right, the first tree, the edge of it is pretty far over, about there. But I've still been out painting in our little town here. Let me see if they're right here. I can show you a couple of them. I just continue to paint our town. I think this one's pretty cute. I don't know if I can get the whole thing in or not. Another little row of houses. That's called Cox Street. It's a road my husband grew up on, actually. They did that one. Oh, here's another one in town. I think this is Short Street. But those were plein air. The one with the row of houses, I went back a few times because there's a lot of stuff going on there. This other one I did in one time. It's fun when you go out to paint because you... I met a lady that I parked in front of her house and painted. I asked permission if she minded me being there, and I went to show her the painting when I finished, and I got to talking to her, and she's lived in our little town of Mason her whole life, and she knew my brother-in-law, who's since passed away. She didn't know my husband, even though he was a couple years behind her, and she's like, you know how it is, you kind of know the older kids, but you don't know the younger ones, which is probably true. So, I'm going to switch to a bigger brush to block in some of these values. Now we'll try this Dick Blick. I don't like those as well as a rosemary, but I'm just going to kind of be scrubbing in some color at this point. All right. So again, we're thinking about value, so I'm going to keep that distant row of trees pretty dark because they are dark. Some people would argue that they should be cooler and lighter so they recede, but are they that way? They're not that way in this photo, so we'll try to reproduce what we see and see how it goes. Some darker values in these trees also. Wouldn't consider myself a landscape painter. You know me, if there's a building with some sunlight on it, I'm going for that. I'm not going for a landscape. But a lot of people just love them, and that's all they paint. And I'm not saying, you know, I tend to actually keep the base of my tree line darker. And I'm not saying these are right at this point, but we're, you know, kind of blocking them in. Got to start someplace, right? I'm going to take this same pile of green and lighten it a bit and block in these bushes. We're just scrubbing it in at this point. Pretty weather here today. It's a bit cooler. It's only high in the 70s. I like it. A little bit hazy. I think part of that's because, sadly, because of the fires in Canada, I think. So sad. Scary. And this scene probably would be more interesting with some sunlight on it. I'm squinting and looking at the photo. The sky is a bit lighter than this, but this is pretty light, that field. Wow, noisy neighbor. Sorry about that. I think that's the grandson of the next door neighbor. He started driving recently, so he's driving kind of a loud car, and he's driving in and out of here pretty fast. Not that we ever did that. You know, with all these greens, we might want to introduce some orange. Again, I'm just, you know, thinking value mostly at this point. And as always, I don't want to cover up all my pink. All right, let's get that field in, which leans toward yellow, but yet it's, I see some warmth in it. So we'll put some transparent red oxide out, a lot of white. May even mix a little orange up to the side and work some of that in there. A good chance, again, you know, we'll be adjusting everything because it's just the block-in. That's pretty good color right there. You can always scoop it up on your palette knife, and if you're painting on location, stick it out and compare, you know. I'm probably just going to go bigger than I need to be in this area and, you know, work my green back in over it. I don't know when I was on here last. It's been a while. Did I tell you I was out painting a couple weeks ago and went to get back in my car wouldn't start, and I was at a farm. I sat around a couple hours waiting for, I called for service, and we tried to jump it, but I don't really think we did it right. As soon as we got there, the guy hooked his thing up and it started right up. So, and I have one of those battery things, which I have to learn how to hook it up. I don't think I hooked it up right. So I'll tell you what I think happened, which is kind of crazy. I think when I got there, some women were standing in this grassy area and they're like, you can park right here. So I just backed up. I couldn't see the hillside, and I just drove over very hard over this hillside, and I think my car thought it was in a wreck maybe, and just kind of, it wouldn't let me start it. My husband said, you know, not the battery, battery's great. So I think it just kind of, I don't know, you know, I looked that up, and I think that can happen. So yeah, you know, could have been worse. I kept telling the girl when I called, I am probably back a mile driveway. He has to come back, because I was concerned they would show up and not see me out there at the mailbox, you know, and go home. So I thought I was going to be towed. I told him, tow me home. It started up, and I said, well, now what do I do? He said, you drive out of that long driveway. It's like, okay, let's see if I keep going. So yeah, no problem. All right, I'm mixing some cobalt and white. I'm looking at the sky. It's kind of a grayed sky. So how would we gray that? We would put the complement in. A little orange, maybe. And I'm not, at this point again, I'm not overly concerned with everything being just right. I'm just getting the canvas covered mostly. That looks pretty blue. A friend of mine reached out to me about wondering if I knew any galleries that might work for her. She's actually an abstract artist. But I told her I had made the decision not to be gallery represented quite a while back, so can't really help her. Even though I know I'm in a gallery show right now, I just would rather not sell that way normally. But this worked out really well being up here. I mean, I'll tell you, it really helps too to have a theme show like we've done, you know, for sure. I've warmed this up as I go down. Put a little more yellow in it. All right, ta-da, we mostly got the canvas covered, right? Putting a little more color down and cover a little more of that area. All right, so let's go back. Let me clean my brush. And we'll go back and look at each area and develop each area. This would be considered a block end. They talk about working large to small. These are my large shapes. I'm going to switch to my rosemary brush now. I like it better. Oops. I'm just throwing paper towels everywhere. All right. I think we'll just kind of start the way we started the painting, and we'll start with this distant row of trees again. All right. And again, they are dark. So I'm making a dark green with ultramarine blue and Indian yellow, which is a very nice dark green. So I think what we'll do is, let's try some of that. Because if you remember, this sketching was transparent red and ultramarine. It really wasn't green. The bristle brush is almost lifting paint. I could work with a softer brush. Okay, I want to try to lighten this a little, and we're going to cool it a little. Toward the top of these. I'm going to switch that softer brush. Let me just try it. I feel as though I'm scraping the canvas, and this is not an expensive brush I'm switching to, but it's a synthetic softer brush. All right, so we're doing, just playing around here. All right, let's start off again and lay in some darker greens. Again, there are some darker greens in here too. While I've got this on the brush, we'll go ahead and lay in some of those that we see in the center there. Just remember, it's like a puzzle. You're just painting shapes and you're painting colors. All right, again, I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. See, that is a lot lighter than it is back there. It's you know, we'll see. I may feel like I need to really cool it off. I am warming it up a bit, this row. I believe this end's coming closer to us, so. I think think I would do, I'm going to cool this end down a little bit more so it pushes back a little bit more, because it is further away from us. You know, and it's just a thick, I can't see any tree trunks in any of it. I want to make sure to keep this plenty dark underneath. I think we'll go ahead and work on these bushes here. Which are closer to us. This is lighter here than they are. I just switched to put my hand across the brush so I don't get too picky. This might again be a fun scene to go back and shoot when the sunlight's on it, you know. It would totally change it. And then maybe paint it again, right? Yeah, for some reason that's a bit more yellow-green over that way. So that's what I'm doing, but we'll see how it looks in the end. I picked up some of that light color. I feel like if it was lighter here, some of this light on this side too would be nice. That distant line of trees is really dark. They are in my photo though, so for now we're going to go with that. a lot of delicate stuff going on, but we would want to do that after we put the sky in again. And I wouldn't have to do the sky again. I could leave it like this if I wanted. But I do think I want to go back and hit it a little bit more. That area there, I think we just kind of missed. I think it's more of the field color. Of course, we're going to be going over it again. All right, let's clean this brush off. I think we'll think about that sky again. You know, and one thing you can do if you've never done it, say you do have a very distant row of trees and you paint the sky blue. You know, well, let me show you. You know, now I've got the blue on there from the sky. I mean, you can put it into those trees and start cooling those trees off, you know, pushing them back. Again, they're pretty dark they were pretty dark, period. You know, you've seen them like that. But I'm going to push them back a little bit. You know, what do we think of that? All right, I mix up some fresh cobalt and white, and we'll take a look at this sky again. Maybe a bit better coverage than we have. There's not much going on in this sky, you know, as far as clouds or last year I painted, they had a garden tour in Montgomery, Ohio, and I painted at a garden, and it was a nice day. And I took some paintings with me, and I sold the painting I did to the homeowner, and the group that I paint with on Tuesdays, they're doing it again, but sadly I won't be able to participate this year. But I'm not completely unhappy. I'll be on my way to Savannah with my daughter for vacation, so I'm excited about that. Can't complain about that. So I did that kind of brush strokey on purpose. Let's go down into these trees a little bit. The top of them are just kind of ratty and kind of, not that it matters, they can be whatever I want them to be. Kind of delicate. This bush, I have made it bigger, but it's not that big. Let's push it back and down. It's much smaller. I get back on that brush again. And you want to make sure with this and trees like this that you don't have really any hard edges. You can go over them or soften them, whatever you need to do. You want them soft because they're back there. All right, let's move to this. Now this would not be as light as this. You have to think about how the sun would hit different planes. A vertical plane is going to get less light. As it's tilted, it will get more, and a flat surface will get the most light. So the trees, may not be dark enough. I'm looking at the picture. We're going to scrub these in, and I feel like I'm going to want a little orange in this stuff. I kind of see it at the tops of that. And as I look at the base of it, the base is a little bit darker. And again, kind of feel like one little orange in there. You can do whatever you want. You know, if you're out in the spring, sometimes there's little daffodils, you know, in the grass. You can add those if you want. Just coming across here with a little orange because why not, right? I like it and I feel like I see it. I'm looking at the shape that I'm getting here with this bush. You know, we may have to work on that. Of course, we don't have any of this painted back in again either, so not real worried about it. We're going to have to paint that in before we go over the edges of these bushes anyway. It's coming. All right, let's look at the grass here in front. And usually what I do is I'll put some darker lines in sometimes. You know, so just not all the same, and kind of start with that. Now again, this is our lightest. Well, of course that's different, but the grass, this is our lightest, flattest area, so and as it's closer to you, of course, you're going to see, you know, more texture. I'm going to kind of overlap that. I don't want a hard edge there. a little too yellow there. I'm liking the warmth in the top of those grasses. It's my painting, it can be whatever I want, right? Put some of this warmth up in these trees too, 'cause I like it. I mean, anything that could potentially be there you can put in, whether you see it or not. If you paint out and you've seen it before, I mean, and you like it, put it in. If there isn't flowers and you like flowers, put flowers in. If, you know, if you like birds, put little birds in. It's your world, right? All right, let's look at the color of the field again. It's actually, that's pretty close, actually, what we went across there with the first time. I am going to, before I start that, I'm looking at the photo, and there are a few kind of green stripes in there. I want to put those in. All right, I want to think about the fact that we want to create depth on this. So we may want to cool it off as it goes away from us. And I personally have taken the sky color and washed it over just in areas to cool it off. But what we're going to do is mix a little of our sky color into this to cool it. I'm not sure what you can tell from the camera, but it is cooler. Trying to think what I got. I'm looking over there and painting what I see, but seeing now, does that make sense? I may have to work on that a little bit. I like that going downhill a little bit. I think that's more attractive. Maybe we're going to warm this up a little as it comes toward us. Kind of warming up the tips of this bush. I do want this bush to stand out against those distant trees. We'll lighten that a little bit. See, and I like the touches of my tone that I'm seeing back there. You know, you could take the pink scraper that I use frequently and scrape some in through that and show your tone a little bit if you wanted. I don't know that I want to do that. This little scraping tool. I mean, we'll try a few places, but doesn't mean I'll leave it. I don't know, kind of like it. A little bit maybe in the bush. That's one advantage to the tone. Have a little fun with it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we're going to call it. It's been about 45 minutes. It's an 8x10 on a Centurion linen panel. I like the hard surface myself for painting on, rather than, that's my preference actually, rather than a stretch canvas. All right, I hope you enjoyed watching that. I'll get you directly in front of it so you can take a better look. And I'm sorry there's a window there. There, that's better. The window, when you look in the light, makes it look darker than it is. So let's see if we can put a mat on it for you. It's fighting me. All right. All right, kind of gives you a better idea, cleans it up. If you're ever interested in one of these that I paint, you know, go ahead and reach out to me. That way, before I put them on my website. And I'm going to sign it, and I'll be signing it, I can tell you now, down in the left corner because I have more going on to the right. So I'll be signing it over here and sign it high enough to where you don't cut it off with your frame. Always consider that. Again, I hope that was fun. I enjoyed it. It's a simple subject, but you know, kind of whatever you want to do with it. All right, please like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. All right, say the same thing every time when you catch me next time, will you? All right, have a great day.